including something that just as of yesterday, the Rams had Todd Gurley under contract, were in discussions about a trade. Reportedly, the Falcons and the Dolphins were the most interested. The Rams cut Todd Gurley to avoid having another $10.5 million become fully guaranteed under his contract that he signed less than 2 years ago. And now, Peter, already he's agreed to terms with the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I'll just say this, Mike. I think one of the weirdest things in our society is, and I heard it last night, I don't know, we watched a little TV, but I also did a little bit of work otherwise. And so I was paying attention to Twitter and to a couple of talk shows. And all these people were saying, oh my God, it was like poor Todd Gurley. So I went to the trustyoverthecap.com site. Jason Fitzgerald does a great job of curating salaries using Mike Florio, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, whoever else, and uses all their information and curates all the salaries and does a fantastic job. And I wanted to see one thing, career earnings, so that, I want to find out, should I feel sorry for Todd Gurley? Mike, Todd Gurley, who I believe is 26 years old, has made $38 million. So, I'm sorry, the violins shall not play in the Peter King residence for Todd Gurley. And I get it. Everybody said, well, geez, they're really, the salaries are just screwing over the running backs and all that stuff. They're not screwing over the running backs. They're paying the running backs what they are worth in the NFL today. And if Todd Gurley didn't have, Mike, whatever he had, if he didn't have the arthritic knee or what, look, I don't know what Todd Gurley has. And if I were the Falcons, I'd be really, really careful, quite honestly, before you actually docu-sign a contract or however they do those things now with Todd Gurley. Because I would want, how do you not have, this is my thought, how do you not have your own team physician, your own orthopedist? How is it possible that you actually sign him without doing a very thorough physical exam on Todd Gurley? That's my big question. Hasn't one of the biggest issues over the last 2 years in the NFL, almost 2 years, hasn't one of the biggest issues been, what's wrong with Todd Gurley? Why have the Rams gone from hardly ever playing him and playing him in a limited way and running him some? I mean, he went from being the superstar running back of the NFL to now it's almost like he's David Johnson. And so I don't know, Mike. That's a multifaceted answer, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, and let's unpack some of this, because I think one of the reasons that this has been so weird and strange and vague, the Rams have treated the condition of Todd Gurley's knee like it's some sort of a state secret. And I think one of the reasons why Todd Gurley is extremely sensitive about any talk regarding his knee. He got mad about it last year when reporters would bring it up. Peter, I just wrote a few stories about it, and he blocked me on Twitter, for crying out loud. I didn't even insult him. Let me earn the block, Todd. Let me say something nasty if you're going to block me, for crying out loud. I didn't say anything, but he's been very sensitive about it. And here's the reality. You mentioned the career earnings. Look, he had 3 years in as the 10th overall pick in the draft in 2015, the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year. The Rams could have played it out like the Chargers did with Melvin Gordon. Finish the 4th year of your rookie contract, play out the option year of your rookie deal, and then become a free agent. The Rams paid this guy after 3 seasons. He made $34.5 million guaranteed over 2 years. That's $17.25 million a year for a running back. No running back makes that other than Todd Gurley. That is unbelievable. And then the way the contract was structured, on the verge of having another $10.5 million become fully guaranteed, the Rams cut the cord. That contract was negotiated to force the Rams to make a decision. So now Todd Gurley becomes a free agent, which every player wants. Make me a free agent every year so I can go out and get the highest possible payday. He's got $34.5 million that he made over 2 years. He's a free agent, able to sign with any team. He has a deal with the Falcons the next morning. He wins. It's a jackpot. It's a brilliant move by him, by his agents, and the Rams screwed this up because they just could have paid out every dollar under his rookie deal, 5 years, said, see you later, God bless, Godspeed, good luck, like Melvin Gordon is currently trying to do, and finding a new deal that way. Todd Gurley won big time because he'd have been a free agent anyway. He'd have signed with the Falcons anyway, and he's got $34.5 million over the last 2 years to show for it.
Do you know the money yet from the Falcons?
I don't know it yet. And I'll tell you what, here's another thing that makes the deal great for the Todd Gurley and his agent. $31.95 million of the money he's made the last 2 years is not subject to offset of any kind. No offset. It's only $2.55 million. The first $2.55 million he makes from the Falcons will be subject to offset language. So, look, I don't know. I was spitballing earlier today, Peter. I think $5-6 million is fair for Todd Gurley at this point when you consider he will have a limited role. I wonder how much he accepts the fact that he's not a workhorse, that it needs to be a limited role, and he needs to be paid accordingly. He's got to get to that point where he accepts he's not the guy that he was when he signed that contract in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, when Tom Brady signed with the Bucs, a friend of mine, another media guy wrote to me and he said, "I'll tell you who the Bucs should go get right now for very cheap, Dion Lewis." Because Dion Lewis basically can be that guy out of the backfield that Tom Brady is going to need as his crutch, the pass catching back, and probably get him for cheap. And that reminds me of the fact that I don't think you're signing Todd Gurley to be Derrick Henry. Obviously, you shouldn't be. You're signing Todd Gurley to be a complementary piece and a co-running back with somebody else. So I think he'd be very fortunate, Mike, to get a $6 million to clear this year $6 million, or maybe if they give him some sort of bonus and a lower salary this year, they just need to be able to, in 2021, if things blow up and it goes badly, they need to let him go and not have, say, $9 million dead cap money.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And let me tell you, there's another reason why this physical that will be conducted by someone, somewhere, somehow, under these COVID-19 procedures, a neutral doctor who may have never conducted a physical examination of a professional athlete in his or her life.
Yeah.
If there is a failure of that examination, if that knee keeps Todd Gurley from passing the physical, Peter, the next move by Gurley on this broader chessboard is to go back to the Rams and say, hey, that $10.5 million that would have become fully guaranteed if I was on the roster today, it was injury guaranteed. I can't pass a physical.
Right.
You owe me another $10.5 million on top of the $34.5 million, and that may work out to $45 million all told for Todd Gurley for 2 years of football if he can't pass a physical and if he can't play. And, if you're Todd Gurley, there's an argument to be made that maybe you just walk away with your $45 million plus what you made your first 3 years in the NFL and call it a career.
So there's two things at play here, Mike, the more I think about Todd Gurley. Suppose that Todd Gurley is living in L.A. Okay, to me, the best thing that he could do if he's living in L.A. is he goes and sees Dr. Neil ElAttrache, who did Tom Brady's knee surgery in 2008. He did, who's the receiver with the Rams, whose knee
Cooper
he did
Kupp.
a year
Cooper
or
Kupp.
so ago. Yeah, that's right. Cooper Kupp. He did his surgery, and he's obviously very well trusted by NFL teams. If he's in L.A., that's who should examine his knee. That's number one. Number two, he went to Georgia. If I'm not mistaken, he lives in Georgia or has a home in Georgia or something. And so would not he be eligible, perhaps, to get one of the Falcons' team orthopedists, not in the facility, but somewhere in Atlanta, to do the exam of his knee? That, I mean, that is a little bit shaky. What if Todd Gurley has an apartment in Atlanta? Wouldn't he then, couldn't the neutral doctor be somebody who the Falcons, at least, if he doesn't work for the Falcons, that he would be very familiar with?
I think you're absolutely right. Now, the way they wrote up the rules on Monday, it can't be a physical performed at the team facility, and the team doctors can't go to the player. It has to be a neutral local physician. But you're right. In that community in Atlanta, the Falcons doctors will know someone that they trust to do that physical, and they can guide them on what they need to look at and what they need to do. And if there's an MRI or an X-ray or whatever, the Falcons doctors can also take a look at that before anything gets finalized. But that $10.5 million that the Rams would owe Todd Gurley, that is injury guaranteed at the time he was terminated. You can't cut a guy if he's not healthy enough to pass a physical. So if he fails the physical, the argument becomes, and my guess is it would be resolved in a grievance procedure, that the Rams owe Todd Gurley another $10.5 million on top of what they've already paid him. So look, this was a win for Todd Gurley. Shannon Sharp and I got into a back and forth last night on Twitter that, hey, what happened to, he signed a contract and honor the contract. The bottom line is the contract was constructed to front load a ton of money and put triggers in there to force the Rams to make early decisions. Gurley got free agency and $34.5 million for 2 years. He won big time, and the Rams lost big time, Peter. And you look at the Rams now. My God, what have they done with some of the contracts they've negotiated in recent years? Jared Goff got a check for $21 million yesterday. He has a cap number of $36 million. They're looking to trade Brandon Cooks, who they gave a contract to sight unseen when they gave up a first-round pick 2 years ago. These chickens have come home to roost in a big way for the Rams, and this team is going to be very different than the team that went to the Super Bowl less than 2 years ago.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.